Hello there everyone, Citrus Aviation here with yet another video, and today we have an aviation news this week video for you. This is episode 48. I know this is coming out soon after the last episode, but that's because that episode was delayed by almost a week, so we're doing this one, and there is a lot of news to cover today. And the very first item that we have here is the rocket launch of the Falcon 9 SpaceX flight mission, and this one is going to the International Space Station. We have this lovely picture here from Airliners.net, and I would actually just like to read the description that the picture has, because that states what's happening in the picture pretty well. So the description reads, quote, at 3:22 p.m. EST, the two-stage Merlin engines hauled to life at Pad 39A at KSC, beginning a new chapter in space travel. The NASA astronauts Robert Belmek and Douglas Hurley became the first Americans launched into space on an American rocket since Shuttle Atlantis STS-135 in 2011. My apologies, by the way, if I did not get the pronunciation of the astronauts totally correct. Alright, continuing. Words cannot begin to describe the sheer excitement and energy of all of those who were there to witness it. The cheers over the sound of the rocket moving skyward was something I will never forget. Godspeed, gentlemen. End quote. So that was a really good caption that describes this picture really well, as Elon Musk's SpaceX company comes into fruition with the very first manned space flight, and this one is going to International Space Station, and by the time you're seeing this video it would have arrived and the astronauts will be there. It's a pretty epic thing that the US is back in space, and there was a lot of excitement around this launch, and I personally really enjoyed streaming it, as I'll be showing a screen capture, but there were over 3.5 million people watching the official SpaceX stream. That's got to be like close to a record on YouTube for the most streamed on a single stream ever. So that was a pretty big event. Great event in not just aviation, but space aviation, aeronautics, and it's good leap forward. So I had this picture here I wanted to show you guys. Found this on Airliners.net. It's of Marianna, Arizona. It's of the JetBlue fleet that's stored there. This is like 2/3 their fleet. It's like a huge number of them right here. You can also see all the Delta aircraft parked there, the 767s, there's some A330s, 747s, and 737s. They park a lot of aircraft there. The MD-90s and MD-88s will be going to Batesville, Arkansas, but it's really interesting to see these aircraft parked here, and I just want to say on this picture, hopefully eventually we'll get out of the worst of it, and things can move on to more normal times. So next up we have the picture here of November 976 Delta Lima coming into Omaha Airfield from Atlanta. And this is a picture to remind you guys that the MD-80 is retiring. So I'm recording this video on Sunday night, and it's going to go out on Monday. And that's June the 1st, which is the day that many of these aircraft are retiring. So Delta on June the 1st and June the 2nd is retiring the MD-88s and MD-90s. So how this is working is routes that do not have a flight stay overnight of June the 1st will retire, and then the aircraft that do stay overnight at those airports will retire the following day. So for example, this aircraft, November 976 Delta Lima, is going to have its last flight to Philadelphia, and as that is a overnight flight, it'll come in for Atlanta in the evening and then depart back to Atlanta on the 2nd, on the morning of June the 2nd. So that's what's going to happen. So some of the routes that have their last flight on the 1st are Omaha, as this picture is here. Omaha's on June the 1st. I believe also Buffalo on the MD-90 is June the 1st, while Houston is on June the 2nd. Also on June the 2nd was Philadelphia, as mentioned, as well as Raleigh. And then the big one is Washington Dulles, as that'll be the last MD-80 flight. So that flight will be on November 908 Delta Echo. It'll be departing Washington Dulles as Delta Flight 88. It'll be leaving at 8:25 a.m. Eastern Time and arriving at 9:50 Eastern Time at Atlanta. And that is a really big event, as it's the last flight, and they're obviously using the flight number 88, which I think is super special. It's going to be a great time. The flight's already sold out. I think it's sold out in a couple of hours of it being announced. And yeah, it'll be a great event. It'll be sad to see the last major airline in the world to operate the MD-80s finally retire them, but it was a good run while they had them. Alright, so this picture here is of November 508 Golf Juliet. It's a picture I took at DSM. And this one is basically give you a fleet update of what's happened with the CRJ 550s. I haven't covered this aircraft since I believe it was July of last year. And that was when they first went into service. But now these aircraft have gone to full-time service. And they are starting to solve more routes. So initially they were all based out of Chicago, O'Hare for the operator GoJet. But now, as more have arrived into the fleet, they have moved around. So some are now based out of Newark as well. And they will also eventually be based out of Washington Dulles and Denver as well. So those are the fleet plans for CRJ 550. Should be a good time. I just want to give you guys an update to show you what's happening there. I believe right now they're at currently about half of the 150 aircraft that they had initially scheduled to be delivered. I think about half of those are delivered now, and then the remainder will be delivered, and then these will be actually, I believe, the last aircraft that will be delivered from Bombardier, as after that they will no longer be building aircraft, as they have sold their business now to Mitsubishi, who will be using the people and technology to build their own regional jets. So that's really interesting, and I wanted to show you guys that little update. We do have some good news. There is still some new aircraft and such happening. And the one item we have for this week is that China Express is going to receive the very first A320neo. This one is an A320-273, and it will be delivered as Bravo-30 Foxtrot 5. And this is currently wearing the test registration of Foxtrot-Whiskey Whiskey Delta Oscar at Toulouse in France. So that is really cool to see that there is still some stuff happening. It seems like things are starting to pick back up now to where we're having new liveries come out. New airlines are receiving aircraft and such. So it is good news to see, and I'm happy to see good stuff happening. Alright, and that is it for this week's episode, but I do want to give you guys a big thank you for 3,000 followers on Instagram. We reached the milestone, I believe it was on May the 20th or May 19th, but we got to 3,000 followers on Instagram. Thank you guys so much. And I still post pictures and stuff over there, so if you want to do it, I'm starting to do daily uploads now, so if you guys want to see aviation content and once a week some other content, feel free to check it out. The link to that is on my channel homepage, so if you want to go check it out, that'd be great. Thank you guys again. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless you.